my puppies. This is Melody Fletcher, author of Deliberate Receiving. Finally, the universe makes some freaking sense. And today's burning question comes from Awesome Sam. Hi, Melody. I've identified that the current message the universe is trying to get through to me is that I do not believe that I am powerful. I've been confronted with the extent of my people-pleasing, how much I give my power away, and the fear I feel or anticipate when having my own voice. Because I'm at the very beginning of turning the tide of this well-practiced illusion, can you suggest some practical baby steps or exercises I can do that results in the universe reflecting back to me demonstrations or evidence that I am powerful? So it's a felt experience. I am being bullied, maligned, and undermined at work and realize the universe wants me to step up, confront my fears, and be healed. I've tried to stay in my center, but the fear energy isn't shifting. So I wondered about practicing and experiencing feeling my own power in a different arena so I can translate that growing confidence to the work arena. All the best wishes, Sam. Well, thank you so much, Awesome Sam, because I think that this is something that, particularly in the area of being bullied, that a lot of people have to deal with. And so I'm very happy to have the chance to answer this question once again, because I have addressed it a couple times on the blog, but I don't believe I've made a video about it. So here we go. So the best technique that I can give you, and I've talked a lot about this, but the best technique that I can give you for getting back your power is anger. To allow yourself to get angry. Now, that does not mean that you have to try to get angry, but I am guessing that right now you're suppressing an extraordinary amount of anger, and that every time somebody does something to you, bullies you, or slights you, you want to get angry. Now, there is a constructive way to release anger, and there's a destructive way to release anger. A destructive way to release anger would be to punch your boss in the face. That's not going to go well for you in the long run. But a constructive way to release anger is to do the anger release at home. So I have 3 rules for a constructive healing anger release. The first one is do it, if you can at all, do it by yourself. Most people do not know how to handle anger. They're very, very afraid of it. And so they think that if you get angry, they have to shut you down in some way. And they're going to be very good at doing that, especially if you're not fully in your power. If you're by yourself, that's less likely to happen. Less likely because you can still shut yourself down by feeling guilty about what comes out of your mouth or by being afraid of the anger yourself. So you want to create an environment in which you feel safe to let your anger out, and you want to give yourself full permission. And if you're by yourself in a safe environment, that means maybe have some couch cushions to punch, something that you can hit or kick without hurting yourself, without hurting it, or you want to journal it out and say really, really ugly things that you'll never ever send to anybody, you'll never let anybody see. Do it safely and do it by yourself or with a trained professional. And keep in mind that not all therapists can handle anger either. So make sure that the person that you're doing with is trained to handle anger, which means that they do not try to shut your anger down in any way. It's usually easiest just to do it by yourself. The second rule of anger that I have is do not censor anything that comes out of your mouth. And here's a wonderful metaphor that will gross you out and stay with you forever. Think of it like taking an emotional poo. It is not going to be pretty what comes out of there. You've been constipated for a long time. It's not going to be pretty, but better out than in, I say. Right? I told you it was going to be gross, and it will stick with you. You're welcome for the visual. So go with the anger release. Do not judge anything that comes out. You can say you hate people. You can say that you want to hurt them. You want to kill them. This is not going to make you a sociopath. Do not worry about that. You're also not creating anything negative in the world by doing this. You're letting what is already there out. You are not focusing in a way that's going to create negative things. You're not sending negative vibes to people. You already have all this within you. Now you're just letting it out and releasing it so that it can shift into a more empowered, positive place. And so the third rule of the anger release that I have for you is that you can be angry at anyone, anything. Anything is fair game. Even your mom, even your kids, even me. I don't care. But not yourself. Not ever yourself. That gets you locked into the cycle of doom, where you vacillate between blaming yourself, getting a bit angry to release some of the pressure, blaming yourself, getting a bit angry to release some of the pressure, and you're caught in the cycle of doom and you get stuck. And I'm guessing that you're doing a version of that right now, where you have some anger coming up, but then you won't allow it, and then you kind of push it back into powerlessness, and that keeps you stuck. So the way out of that is to get angry, but get angry constructively. Yeah? So that means if somebody is bullying you, the first thing that you want to do is not stand up to the bully, because you're not coming from an empowered place. So that all you're going to do is manifest more bullying behavior towards you, more evidence that you are not strong. So you go home and you get angry and you beat up the bully and you give yourself superpowers and fling him across the state if you need to. Do whatever you got to do so that you actually feel more empowered, and you keep that going until you feel a sense of relief. Do not shut it down too early. Do not try to evaluate it in that moment. In the moment that you're having the anger release, your mind does not need to be involved at all trying to, does this come from my anger at my father? Does this come from something else that maybe I did when I was 3? That, in that moment, don't worry about that. You can evaluate later, yeah, if you need to. But what it's really about is feeling that emotion and letting that emotion empower you. Because here's what anger does. When you're sitting in the corner and you're cowering in the fetal position and somebody is beating you up, they're bullying you, they're beating you up, yeah, that's powerlessness, and that's sadness, depression, yeah. So you're sitting there, you're letting that happen, and you don't think that there's anything that you can do about it. What anger does, that's you standing up going, screw this, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to do something about this. So you better back off. I'm going to start hitting back so that I can get out of this corner and get away from you. Yeah? And so anger is that impetus to get up and not take it anymore. And it can feel really, really ugly. And it can feel really, really volatile. And to many people in our society, it can feel really, really scary. Because they think that anger is going to land them in prison. And this is why you want to have a constructive anger release rather than a destructive anger release. Because a destructive, uncontrolled anger release happens when you suppress anger, you suppress anger, you suppress anger, and at some point that pressure cooker is going to explode. What you're doing is you are consciously taking the cooker off the heat and letting the pressure out so that explosion never has to happen. And you may have to have more than one anger release. If you've been powerless for a long time, you definitely will have to have more than one anger release. But I promise you, you will feel better after. And then, once you've done that, if the manifestation persists, you can then get into things like setting boundaries. And I have quite a few blog posts on my blog about setting boundaries. I'll try to find some links and put them underneath in the video description for you so that you can find those. But that's really not going to work for you if you're still in total powerlessness. Yeah, and that's why it hasn't really worked for you. You're still in fear, and you're the scared little guy wanting to go up to the big bully going, I'm not taking this anymore. Yeah, that's not going to work. You need to empower yourself first. And that doesn't mean that you have to bully people. But in that anger release, it may feel like you want to. This is where the constructive release comes in, because in your mind, in your visualization, you can do anything that you want. You want to pound people into the ground. You want to fling them across the city. You want to dump them out the window. That's all fine. Do not be afraid of that. It's not going to make you a sociopath. That is not how that happens. Yeah? So give your anger reign in a constructive and safe way. Do not be afraid of the emotion. Yeah? And you'll notice you might have to be angry for an hour or two, but you will get to a place where you'll feel the relief of it. You might feel spent, you might feel tired, and then you might have to sleep, you might have to take a nap, yeah? Again, the analogy of taking that big poo comes in, yeah? And then the energy will settle and you'll start to feel a lot better. This is how you get out of the powerlessness into the empowerment. And by the way, I explain this entire process in nitty-gritty detail in my book, shameless plug. So go ahead and buy that and pick that up as soon as you can and read it cover to cover several times, and you'll be all enlightened and shit. So you're welcome. I hope I answered your question. Do give it a try and let me know what you think. If you have had experiences with powerlessness and becoming empowered, then do please join the discussion. Or if you have other questions you'd like to ask, then please leave a comment below. Or come to deliberatereceiving.com and join the Happy Shiny Puppy Army, a loving and wonderful like-minded community of people who cannot wait to meet you. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.